Hey guys, it's Ben here, or better known as Forbidden Saber. Today I'm going to do a tank review on the Tier 6 Soviet heavy tank, the T150. Today I'm going to do a quick rundown of the stats in the garage, and after that I'll do a couple of replays to show you where this tank excels at and also fails at. Now, the Tier 6 Soviet heavy tank, the T150. This tank is one of the two Soviet tank lines in WOT. This is the line that leads to the IS-4 that is largely been neglected by the WOT community due to its rather mediocre Tier 10 tank. Compared to the IS-7, which sports very decent hull armor and turret armor, the IS-4 is largely inferior to it. However, that is not the case for all tanks in this line. The Tier 6 heavy tank, the T150, is very decent indeed. It sports a punchy gun and bouncy armor, with 90mm at the front of the hull, 90mm at the side, and 75 at the back. Now, when you have 90mm at the front and 90mm at the sides, that makes it a very effective tank for angling and side scraping. On top of that, it has a very decent turret with 100mm at the front, 100mm at the side, and 75mm at the back. However, this tank truly lacks in is possibly its accuracy, its aim time, its reload time, and its horribly bad traverse speed. Apart from that, this tank is rather amazing for its tier. Now, I'm going to hop over to tanks.gg and I'll show you how to effectively pen this tank. Okay, now we are at tanks.gg, and over here I'll show you how to effectively angle your armor in this tank. Now, as you can see, this tank has roughly very strong armor, especially at the mantlet, where it sports anywhere from 180 to 400. However, it has a very large cupola, as you can see, and this cupola is a very high chance of penetration. Along with that, you see these small little rangefinders. Now, people normally shoot me at the cupola and it misses it, and instead I hit these rangefinders. However, this rangefinder, although it's 100% penetration, there are still times when they just destroy my rangefinder and not damage me at all. Now, onto the hull. As you can see, this strip of armor here is largely flat and consists of anywhere from 75mm over here, or 60mm in fact, to roughly about 134, which is this small little strip here. This plate mainly consists of a 100mm plate, and there's this little auto bounce plate over here which people actually shoot, surprisingly. However, this auto bounce plate is largely neglected when they're shooting down on you, and yeah. Now, as you can see, there's this small little strip here that is also pretty auto bounce at some points. So if I angle it like this, it easily spikes up to 300mm of penetration, and the bottom plate, however, it spikes up to roughly about 200mm of armor. However, if you're facing one of these frontally and that person is not angling for some reason, you are looking at 147mm to 149mm. The turret cheeks, although they look very weak, they are not that weak. There's these small little bubbles that the mantlet does not cover. Those are weak points. They spot about 113mm. However, if your shot goes anywhere to the left or the right, it becomes a very low chance of penetration. So if you can see this plate first, shoot it. You can shoot the cupola, shoot it first. You only shoot the gun mantlet when there's nowhere else to shoot. Now onto the sides. The sides spot a roughly 90mm side. However, if you angle it, it comes anywhere to about 200mm of armor. The turret can also be angled slightly, like this, and it easily becomes 200. Now the tracks act as space armor, so whatever armor you see here is 110 due to the extra 20mm from the tracks. So when you're shooting this, always shoot the upper half of the hull, never shoot the bottom half. And now I'll do a little bit of the gun stats. So let's hop back into the WOT client. Now that we're back in WOT, we can see what this tank actually can do. Now we have a 107mm gun, which is the top gun. This tank has a rather bad stock grind, and I thoroughly recommend you go down the KV1S line before coming this line, or possibly the KV2 first, where you can unlock the 107mm without any pain. However, when you get the 107mm, this tank becomes a completely different tank. This 107mm has 167mm of penetration, which is second highest for its tier for a heavy tank if I'm not wrong, and 300 alpha damage, which is I also think second highest for its tier as a heavy tank. The dispersion at 100mm is 0.45, which is pretty awful, but when you're using a T150, you will want to be somewhere within close range, where it does not matter that much. It also comes with completely horrific aiming time at 3.4. Its rate of fire is at 5.88, which is pretty awful. That means your shot comes in at roughly every 9 to 10 seconds if you're using 100% crew, and that's pretty decent for its alpha damage and penetration. Now, the engine comes in at an amazing horsepower of 700, which is a major improvement over the stock engine, which is at 500. Now with the stock engine, you are very much like a slug. You have no mobility whatsoever. And your tracks are pretty bad also, at 16 degrees per second. I believe that's how fast the Morse turns its turret. Now its APCI penetration is at 219mm of penetration, and its high explosive shells is at 54mm of penetration. Now these values aren't exactly bad, and I believe they are in the middle of the tier for, so they are pretty good if you don't, they are pretty decent when you cannot pen those pesky tier 8 tanks, which are kind of annoyance in this tank. Now I'll show you a couple of replays. Okay, so here is the first replay, and we are in a very bad matchup where we are in a tier 8 battle and the teams are roughly very equal. Now this T150, I would say, can still perform for its tier even in tier 8 battles, and it does pretty decent. Now there's dastardly artillery on both teams, and both of them are piloted by very decent players. Now as you can see, I AFK at the start of the battle. For what reason, I don't know. Now, what I'm trying to do now is possibly go to the center area. When I go over here, I was thinking of fighting tier 8 tanks. Now, I gave a hard thought at it and I was like, nah, I shouldn't do that. So, I changed my mind, as you can see now, and went up the center instead. Now over here, I tried to help my friendly ELC by taking out the tier 6 German light tank, the VK28.01. Now, the VK28.01 is manned by a pretty statistically good player, and now I tried to take him out over here. That was a pretty bad play by me for knocking over the trees, but I'm not exactly a very good player by any means. Now I bounced a T29 shot as he hit me at the side of my turret. He probably hit me at the auto bounce angle, so this is how good the tank is against higher tier tanks. Now I tried a shot at the Lowy, but I missed. So that demonstrates how the 0.45 dispersion actually works. Now the second shot I take from the T29, it hits a small little rangefinder. So he was probably aiming for my turret and instead missed. Now as you can see, I take a look in the town and try to find a shot on the T32. However, I realized that I couldn't put a shot into him. So I sit here and try to provide support for my friendly ELC in case he spots anything. Now, I sit here and just wait. So I shall now talk about what I was thinking over here. Now, I was thinking of possibly providing support through town over here, From this position, I can shoot into the town over here. I can shoot over here in case the ELC spots anything. I can also shoot over here. However, this tank has pretty bad gun depression also. This tank's gun depression has cost me a couple of shots before. However, its gun depression is considered decent for a Soviet heavy tank. Now I realize I can put a shot in the T-34-1. So I fire one blind. As you can see, I now try to push forward with the ELC. However, I find a T-29. So I'm going to put a shot into him. I'll try to. However, my first shot goes into his track, which he quickly repair kits. Now I realize that the Jagdpanzer 4 on my team is in danger. So I try to provide support now. Okay, so I tried to find a shot on the T-29. However, I couldn't. Oh, my first shot went in his track. Now I sit here and wait for him to be spotted again or make a misplay. Now, while doing this, I was looking through at the minimap and found out that we are pushing very well on the other side. And this is when I realized that the T-29 tried to come out again, and here he comes. So I put a shot into his track. However, I got a critical hit instead, so this gun is pretty RNG dependent. Now as you can see, I tried to put a shot into him, so I hit his front and penetrated. Now I'm trying to find a second shot, and however the shot misses, or it actually hits the track and did not go through. Instead, what I should have done is possibly aim at the frontal plate and not at the sides of the tank. And now my third shot goes into his track, and the T-29 shoots me instead and penetrates me, so that possibly cost me a shot. Now I'm going to pause the replay here. He shot me and hit me in the turret side, and that penetrated. So what you want to try to do is, because when your turret is so large, you possibly want to go hull down in this tank. Or if you cannot, you can always side scrape in the open or angle in the open, because that decreases your chance of getting penetrated. Now, what I was trying to do by sitting there for 5 seconds was trying to set up my binocs and camo net. Because at that point in time, as you can see, my view range does not cover the T-29. Because this blue line does not cover T-29. So I have to set up my camo net and binocs just to spot the T-29, which shows how bad the view range in this tank is. So you should only limit this tank to being a support tank. You cannot push with this tank. Or you could, if the enemy has also equally as bad view range as you. Now let's go back to the replay. So I try to angle my armor, however he penetrates me through the hull. So now I try to find my third shot into him, however he runs away from me. Now I move forward and try to find a shot into the T-29. Now, I was moving forward and hopefully not encounter anything, because I see a WZ-131 over here, over at this location. So I was worried he'll be popping over the corner. So I push out and see if I can find him. However, he isn't there. So I continue moving and try to help my friend over here, which are getting surrounded and obliterated by the enemies over here. So I'm finding a way to flank them now. As I move forward, suddenly I encounter WZ-132. Oh no! So that's a little bit of auto aim used by me, which is a little bit of a bad play, but I'm not exactly a very good player. Now, as I continue moving forward, I want to possibly flank the AMX 50-100 and maybe help my teammates over there, which are slowly dying off. Now as I come over here, I notice the Object 416, so I try to spot for him, or at least help him. And at that point in time, our Unicam artillery one-shotted the Tiger P. So that was a very good play by him, congrats. And here is where I spot the GW Tiger P. However, I loaded high explosive and did not penetrate. Oh no. And then the 50-100 bounced me once and we penned the second shot. So this is the end of the first replay. Now, let's go on to the second replay. Okay, now we're in a much better matchup. And it's tier 6. Now, when we're top tier, this is what the tank can do. So at this point in time, I was observing the team. As we can see, there are 2 OIs and our win chance is pretty high. And from what I can see, our team is statistically much better than the enemy team. If we can obliterate that Rudy over there, we possibly have a instant win over this game. So that was my target for this game. Now as you can see, because of this poor tank's mobility, I did not opt to go over to the open field to my left here, because I was, number one, afraid of artillery, because artillery likes to shoot me. So I opted to go into the town over here and hopefully fight off the Rudy and provide support cover to over here. So I first go in here and try to spot some stuff. However, I could not find anything. So I'm now just moving forward and trying to find that Rudy. So the first tank is spotted on the other flank, the VK-30D. There is a tier 6 German medium tank and it looks pretty decent. Along with that, 2 light tanks are spotted on the other side of the map, which I don't know who they are. And so it looks like I'm pretty much clear over here. Now, what I was expecting here to see was the OIs, the tier 6 Japanese heavy tanks, or possibly the M6. However, the M6 is over there, and the OI is also over there. Whereas, and the second OI is here, also here. So I was kinda rejoicing a little bit. So as I push over here and try to get a shot on the OI, plot twist, I spot a Nash horn. I shot the Nash horn, but it was too late. While doing that, I spotted the Rudy. So I tried to put a shot into him and angle my armor. He donks a shot into the house to my right, and instead I couldn't spot him. So I tried to activate my binocs and camo net. However, it still did not manage to spot the Rudy. So now I auto aim on the OI and see if I can put a shot into him. As I pre over here, I found him, so I shoot once and penetrate through his track. However, that was a very low roll. So now I try to shoot him or bait his shot in fact. He shoots me and does not penetrate. So now I aim at the flat spots and try to hit him. However, WT RNG lets me hit the turret instead and rolls high, which is pretty amazing. So hopefully I pen my last shot and World of Tanks go nope. So I managed to pen my last shot over him. Now, when I look over here, I spot the Rudy. So the Rudy shot me. Now the Rudy is my target this game, so now I'm trying to shoot him. However, the OI is worrying me a little bit. And now there's a Hellcat behind me. Oh no. So what do I ever do now? So now I take out the Rudy and angle my armor towards the Hellcat. So I'm waiting for the Hellcat to pop over and put a shot into him. Now, as you can see, the Hellcat will do that in a while. So I'm pointing over here to see whether the OI will come and attack me also. So while doing that, the OI is there. And that worries me quite a bit. Now the OI one-shots the Luchas. Oh, that's pretty bad. And then the Hellcat pops over, and then I auto aims and shoots him once. But oh no, he puts a shot into me and pens me. Now, as you can see, I periodically look to my right, and because I'm worried about the OI popping over and flanking me. The OI is using a derp gun, so it does not need to penetrate me to actually do damage to me and kill me. So I see him coming out, I immediately aim and snapshots him. However, the VK-30H and Hellcat come. Oh no. And there goes me. However, this game was a pretty decent game for the T150, showcasing the pretty punchy gun and the very decent hull armor. So let's go back into the garage for conclusion. Okay, so welcome back to the garage, and here are my final thoughts on the tank. Well, the T150 is a very competitive tank due to its rather amazing gun and bouncy armor. Even in tier 8 games, as you saw from the earlier replay, where I managed to bounce the AMX 50-100 shot and even the T29 shot, which has 198 penetration. However, the view range, the aim time, the reload time of the gun, and the accuracy of the gun leave a lot to be desired, as well as the mobility. However, I believe some of these problems can be rectified through the correct use of equipment such as gun lane drive, toolbox, and large caliber tank gun armor. For consumables, I run a manual fire extinguisher, a repair kit, and a first aid kit. Though you can swap out the manual fire extinguisher for something like improved combat rations, because this tank rarely gets set on fire during your games. Now, my overall rating for this tank would be a nice 8 out of 10. So this tank is one of the better tanks for its tier. And as with that, please leave a like and subscribe, as well as a comment on what tank you would want me to do a tank review on next. And as such guys, see you next time.